The signal and response. The message arrived at Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station on a frequency that hadn't been used in decades. Commander Elena Rice was finishing her third consecutive shift when the ancient receiver crackled to life, startling her enough to spill coffee across her console. "What the hell?" she muttered, quickly wiping at the spreading liquid while activating the recording systems. The message repeated 3 times before falling silent. A precise mathematical sequence followed by spatial coordinates, and what could only be described as desperation, translated into universal mathematical language. Within 12 hours, the United Earth Defense Council chambers were filled to capacity. Military leaders from every continent sat alongside colonial representatives from Mars, Europa, and the scattered settlements of the asteroid belt. At the center of the room, Admiral Jackson Wee stood before the holographic display showing the signal analysis. The message originated from the Thelos system, approximately 18 light-years from Earth. He explained, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of the hologram. "We've known about the Kalanids for some time. They're part of the Galactic coalition that's denied our full membership for the past 30 years. The same coalition that calls us unstable deathworlders, unfit for civilized space." General Amara Okafor's voice carried a sharp edge that silenced the room. Admiral Wee nodded. "The very same. According to our intelligence, the Kalanids are a highly advanced civilization, but they have virtually no military. They're philosophers, artists, scientists, but not fighters." President Yuki Tanaka leaned forward, her eyes narrowed. "And the aggressors? The Kryvax Dominion." Wei's voice hardened as he pulled up another holographic image, jagged ships with configurations that seemed designed to inflict psychological terror as much as physical damage. "They're a conquering species that's been steadily expanding their territory for the past century. They don't negotiate, they don't take prisoners, and they've never been defeated." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "Let me understand this correctly," President Tanaka finally said. "A species that has actively supported our exclusion from galactic society is now facing extinction and has sent us, specifically us, a distress call." "That appears to be the case," Wei confirmed. "Our translators believe the Kalanids sent identical messages to every known spacefaring civilization, but the signal strength suggests they specifically boosted the transmission directed at Earth." "Why would they do that?" asked the Mars colonial representative. "They've made it clear they consider us dangerous primitives." Dr. Maya Patel, Earth's foremost xenobiologist, cleared her throat. "Because they're desperate, and they know something the rest of the coalition refuses to acknowledge, that humans are the only species in this sector of the galaxy evolved from predators." She activated her own display, showing comparative evolutionary charts. Most coalition species evolved from prey animals or peaceful herbivores. They developed intelligence as a defense mechanism, then technology to overcome their physical limitations. But humans, we evolved chasing our food until it dropped from exhaustion. General Okafor finished. "We're persistence predators born on a high-gravity death world." "Precisely," Dr. Patel nodded. "The Kalanids know that in a fight, there's no species better adapted for warfare than humans. We don't just think differently. We're physically built for combat in ways they can't replicate with technology alone." President Tanaka's eyes moved around the table. "The coalition has made it abundantly clear they don't want our violent tendencies contaminating their peaceful society. Why should we risk human lives for those who've rejected us?" The room erupted in debate until Admiral Wei raised his hand, commanding silence through presence alone. "Because this is our chance to show them exactly who we are," he said quietly. "Not the savages they fear, but protectors who stand for those who cannot stand for themselves. Yes, we evolved as predators, but we choose how to use that heritage." He zoomed in on the Thelos system. According to the distress call, they have approximately 21 days before the Kryvax fleet reaches their homeworld. We can be there in 8. President Tanaka's gaze was steady. "What forces can we deploy?" "Every available ship," Wei replied without hesitation. The UEA's Indomitable, Defiance, and Sentinel battle groups, plus the Mars Defense Fleet and the Jupiter outpost ships. 327 vessels in total. Against how many Kryvax ships? Intelligence suggests approximately 250, but they've never faced humanity before. They've only conquered species who think like the Coalition, logically, predictably. They haven't encountered Deathworlders who evolved fighting for survival every day. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then President Tanaka nodded once. "Prepare your fleet, Admiral. Humanity is going to war." The UES Indomitable hummed with activity as Lieutenant Commander Priya Sharma conducted final checks on the ship's tactical systems. As the tactical officer for the fleet flagship, she would be responsible for coordinating attack patterns across hundreds of vessels during the coming battle. Systems check complete. All weapons platforms responsive. She reported, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. Adaptive shield modulations programmed according to the limited data we have on Kryvax weapon systems. Captain Marcus Chen nodded, his expression betraying none of the tension that had kept him awake for the past 36 hours. "What's your assessment of their tactical capabilities, Commander?" Priya pulled up the simulations she'd been running. Based on reports from surviving witnesses of previous Kryvax conquests, they fight with mechanical precision. Perfect formations, textbook maneuvers. They overwhelm through superior firepower and numbers, not innovation. They've never needed to innovate, Chen observed. They've never faced an enemy that could truly challenge them. Which gives us our opening, Priya agreed. They'll expect conventional responses. We'll give them chaos instead. The ship's intercom crackled. "All personnel, prepare for fleet-wide address from Admiral Wei." Throughout the gathered ships, screens flickered to life showing Admiral Wei standing on the Indomitable's bridge, his uniform impeccable, his expression resolute. "Men and women of Earth's united fleet, I won't waste your time with flowery speeches. You all know why we're here and what we're about to face. The Kryvax Dominion has conquered 17 species without a single defeat. They believe themselves invincible because they've never encountered humanity before." He paused, his eyes seeming to meet each person watching. "The Galactic Coalition calls us Deathworlders, like it's something to be ashamed of. But today, we show them what that really means. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us at every turn. We survived ice ages, predators, and disease. We endured natural disasters and our own wars. Everything that makes us strong, our tenacity, our refusal to surrender, our ability to fight on when logic says we should fall, was forged in the crucible of Earth." Across the fleet, thousands of humans stood a little straighter. "The Kalinids have 18 days before their world falls. We'll be there in 8. The Kryvax think they're hunting easy prey. They're about to learn what it means to face the children of Earth." A cheer rose through the ship, echoed across the fleet. "All ships, prepare for coordinated jump. We bring humanity's answer to an alien cry for help." Space shimmered as jump drives engage. One by one, over 300 ships disappeared into the void, carrying humanity's fury toward those who dared to prey upon the defenseless. 8 days later, the human fleet emerged at the edge of the Thelos system. Scout ships immediately deployed, gathering intelligence while the main fleet remained hidden behind the system's outer gas giant. Admiral Wei studied the tactical display with Captain Chen and Commander Sharma at his side. The Kryvax fleet was visible as red markers, steadily advancing through the system, methodically destroying everything in their path. "They're completely spread out," Priya observed. "No defensive formations whatsoever." "They've never needed them," Captain Chen replied. "They've never faced a real threat." A communication officer approached. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Kalinid homeworld." The central display shifted to show a slender, almost ethereal being with luminescent skin and 4 delicate arms. The Catalinid's large, multifaceted eyes reflected both terror and disbelief. You actually came," The alien said, its translator converting the melodic language to English. I am First Scholar Telesur of the Kalanid Harmony. When we sent our call to Earth, many said it was futile, that humans would never risk their lives for a species that supported their exclusion from the coalition. Admiral Wei's expression remained neutral. We did not come because of politics, First Scholar. We came because it was right. Telesur's bioluminescent skin pulsed with emotion. The Kryvax have destroyed our outer colonies. Over 2 billion souls gone. Our defenses cannot halt their advance. We have no warriors, Admiral. Our species abandoned violence thousands of years ago. That's why we're here, White replied. You sent a call for help across the stars, and humanity has answered. Not with diplomats or sanctions, but with warships. The coalition will not approve, Telesur said, almost apologetically. They fear human violence. They call your world a death world, Way finished, and they call us Deathworlders. Today, the Kryvax will learn why that should terrify them. Prepare your people, First Caller. The battle for your world begins in 6 hours. As the transmission ended, Admiral Way turned to his senior officers who had gathered on the bridge. The Kalanids have provided detailed scans of the Kryvax fleet. Commander Sharma, what's your analysis? Priya highlighted the enemy vessels. Their ships are heavily armored at the front but more vulnerable on the sides and rear. They're configured for overwhelming frontal assaults, not defense. Their formations are perfect, too perfect. They follow predictable attack algorithms. A slow smile spread across Admiral Way's face. Then we'll show them something they've never seen before, human unpredictability. Captain Chen, signal all battle group commanders. It's time to bring some Deathworld chaos to their perfect order. From the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Way opened a channel to the entire fleet. His voice carried the weight of Earth, and the responsibility they now bore, not just for the Kalanids, but for showing the galaxy what humanity truly stood for. All ships, this is Admiral Way. The enemy has no idea we're here. They've conquered 17 species without ever tasting defeat. Today, that changes. Today, we show them what it means to face humans in battle. Throughout the fleet, final preparations were made. Weapons were armed, shields were raised, and 327 ships crewed by the children of Earth prepared to unleash the full fury of humanity against those who preyed upon the defenseless. Deathworlders unleashed. The human fleet moved into position with a precision that belied the chaos they were about to unleash. Admiral Way stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching as battle groups formed up according to Commander Sharma's tactical plan. Battle Group Alpha in position, reported Captain Chen. Groups Beta through Echo confirming ready status, added Commander Sharma, her hands dancing across the tactical display. All ships' weapons hot, shields at maximum. We nodded, his eyes fixed on the red markers representing the Kryvax fleet. They continued their methodical advance toward the Kalanid homeworld, completely unaware of the storm about to break upon them. Execute Operation Thunderclap, Way ordered. Across the system, human ships simultaneously dropped their stealth fields and accelerated toward the scattered Kryvax formations. The element of surprise was complete. By the time Kryvax sensors detected the human ships, they were already within optimal firing range. From the bridge of the UES Defiance, Captain Zoran Nguyen watched her targeting systems lock onto 3 Kryvax destroyers. Fire everything, she commanded. The Defiance shuddered as kinetic projectiles, missiles, and energy weapons launched simultaneously. Throughout the system, human ships unleashed their first devastating salvo. The Kryvax, caught completely unprepared, suffered immediate losses as their scattered formations left them vulnerable to the coordinated human assault. Aboard the Kryvax command vessel, Supreme Commander Vorax struggled to comprehend the tactical displays. His species had conquered 17 civilizations without a single defeat, yet now his fleet's formations were being torn apart by an unknown enemy using tactics that defied all strategic logic. Identify the attackers. he demanded, his armored exoskeleton clicking in agitation. His second-in-command's voice trembled. Sensors indicate, humans, Supreme Commander. Deathworlders from Earth. Vorax's compound eyes widened. Impossible. The Coalition assured us the humans would never intervene. They are isolationists, primitives. They appear to be neither, Supreme Commander. They've destroyed 27 of our ships in the initial assault. Vorax slammed his clawed appendage onto the command console. Order all ships to defensive formation Omega. Concentrate fire on their largest vessels. But the Kryvax fleet struggled to regroup. Human battle groups executed maneuvers that seemed random and chaotic to Kryvax tactical systems, breaking apart when logic dictated they should consolidate, attacking from directions that left them seemingly vulnerable, sacrificing optimal firing positions for unpredictable movement patterns. They fight like madmen. Vorax hissed. There's no logic to their tactics. On the UES Sentinel, Lieutenant James Rodriguez gripped his controls as the battlecruiser executed a tight spiral maneuver that brought them dangerously close to a Kryvax heavy destroyer. Maintaining course, Captain, he reported, sweat beading on his forehead as proximity alarms screamed in his ears. Captain Ameri nodded grimly. Hold steady, Lieutenant. Give our gunners the shot. The Sentinel's position should have been suicidal. Conventional tactics would never place a valuable battlecruiser in such a vulnerable position. But human tactics weren't conventional, and the Kryvax weren't prepared for an enemy willing to take calculated risks. The Sentinel's weapons fired at point-blank range, energy beams, and kinetic penetrators tearing through the Kryvax destroyer's weakened shields and into its hull. As the enemy ship erupted into flames, Rodriguez executed a maneuver that skimmed them along the explosion's shockwave, using it to accelerate the Sentinel into an attack position against another target. Commander Sharma's voice was steady as she updated Admiral Y on the tactical situation. The enemy is attempting to regroup into defensive formations, but we're disrupting their efforts. Battle Group Delta has breached their center line. Groups Alpha and Echo are executing flanking maneuvers. Wei studied the holographic display. The initial surprise had given them a significant advantage, but the Kryvax were adapting. Slower than humans would, but adapting nonetheless. Status of the Kellanid defensive perimeter. Holding, sir. The Kryvax advance has stalled, but they're redirecting forces. They've identified the Indomitable as our command vessel. 3 heavy cruisers are on an intercept course. Wei's expression remained impassive. Let them come. Captain Chen, prepare for close engagement. On the tactical display, the battle unfolded across the star system. Human ships darting between Kryvax formations, striking from unexpected angles, refusing to engage in the predictable patterns of conventional space combat. The Kryvax, evolved from hive-minded insectoids, excelled at coordinated action, but struggled against an enemy whose tactics seemed to border on chaos. Lieutenant Commander Priya Sharma noticed a concerning pattern developing. Admiral, the Kryvax are adapting faster than anticipated. They're beginning to predict our maneuvers in sectors 3 and 7. Wei studied the display. They're pattern matching. Even chaos has patterns if you gather enough data. He opened a fleet-wide channel. All battle groups, this is Admiral Wei. Implementation randomization protocols now. Switch to contingency tactics. Throughout the human fleet, ship commanders received the order and immediately changed their tactics, abandoning the carefully planned maneuvers they'd been executing in favor of individualized, on-the-spot decision-making. It was a uniquely human approach, giving ship captains the autonomy to make tactical decisions based on the immediate situation rather than following a centralized command structure. The Kryvax, who relied on perfect coordination and predictability, found themselves once again facing an incomprehensible enemy. 3 hours into the battle, the tide began to turn. The human fleet had suffered losses, 27 ships destroyed, dozens more damaged. But the Kryvax had lost nearly a third of their fleet. On the Indomitable's bridge, a grim-faced communications officer approached Admiral Wei. Sir, The UES Defiance reports critical reactor damage. Captain Nguyen is requesting permission to execute Protocol Omega. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Protocol Omega was a last resort tactic, one that required the ultimate sacrifice. Wei closed his eyes briefly before nodding. Tell Captain Nguyen. Permission granted, and may Earth remember her name. On the tactical display, the Defiance's marker began moving rapidly toward the heart of the largest remaining Kryvax formation, directly toward the enemy command ship. Captain Zara Nguyen stood on the bridge of the dying Defiance, evacuation alarms blaring around her. Most of her crew had already departed in escape pods, but a skeleton crew of volunteers remained at their stations. Reactor containment at 8% and falling, reported her chief engineer, his voice steady despite knowing what came next. We have maybe 4 minutes before catastrophic failure. Nguyen nodded, her eyes fixed on the massive Kryvax command ship growing larger on the view screen. That's all we need. Divert all remaining power to engines and forward shields. Disable all safeties. The Defiance accelerated, trailing plasma and debris, looking for all purposes like a mortally wounded vessel trying to escape. The Kryvax, unfamiliar with human deception tactics, failed to recognize the threat until it was too late. It's been an honor serving with you all, Nguyen said quietly. The Defiance slammed into the Kryvax command ship at near relativistic speed, its failing reactor detonating on impact. The explosion tore through the heart of the Kryvax formation, destroying the command vessel and 3 surrounding capital ships in a blinding flash. On the Indomitable, the bridge crew watched in silence as the Defiance's signal vanished from their displays. The Kryvax command structure is in disarray, Commander Sharma reported, her voice tight with emotion. Their formations are breaking apart. They've lost central coordination. Admiral Wei straightened his shoulders. All battle groups, this is Admiral Wei. Push the advantage. Hit them from all sides. Don't give them time to establish a new command hierarchy. The human fleet surged forward, attacking with renewed ferocity. Without their command ship, the Kryvax fleet fragmented into isolated groups fighting individual battles, precisely the type of combat at which humans excelled. 2 hours later, the remaining Kryvax ships began to retreat, abandoning their conquest of the Thalos system. For the first time in their species' history, the Kryvax Dominion had been defeated. First Scholar Telesir stood in stunned silence as Admiral Wei's hologram delivered the news. The Kryvax fleet has been driven from your system, First Scholar. They've suffered heavy losses. It will be years before they can mount another invasion force of this size. How many? Telesir asked, voice barely audible. How many of your people died to save mine? Wei's expression remained stoic, but his eyes revealed the weight he carried. 42 ships lost. Just over 15,000 personnel. The Kaelinid's luminescent skin pulsed with an intensity that translated visually as profound grief. 15,000 souls, sacrificed for a species that denied yours a place among the stars. Telesir's 4 arms moved in a formal gesture. There are no words in any language to express what we owe you. We didn't come for debt or gratitude, Wei replied. We came because it was right. The Coalition was wrong about your kind, Telesir said. They feared your evolution as predators, your capacity for violence. They could not understand how such attributes could exist alongside mercy and self-sacrifice. Wei's hologram flickered slightly. Humanity's strength isn't that we evolved as hunters, First Scholar. Our strength is that we choose when to hunt and when to protect. We are Deathworlders, yes, but that means we understand the value of life better than most. 3 days later, representatives from 12 Galactic Coalition species arrived in the Thalos system. Their diplomatic vessel approached the Indomitable cautiously, clearly intimidated by the battle-scarred human warships that surrounded it. Admiral Wei, Captain Chen, and Commander Sharma stood in the Indomitable's conference room as the Coalition representatives entered. The aliens moved with visible trepidation, their evolutionary heritage as prey species evident in their cautious movements and wide, scanning eyes. The lead representative, an ancient being with crystalline appendages, addressed Wei directly. "Admiral, I am Elder Zorith of the Coalition High Council. We have reviewed the events in this system." Wei waited silently. "For 30 years, the Coalition has denied humanity full membership based on concerns about your species. Aggressive tendencies," Zorith continued. "We feared the influence of Deathworlders among peaceful civilizations. The crystalline being seemed to struggle with what came next. We were wrong. When faced with the distress call of a species that had supported your exclusion, humanity responded not with vengeance or indifference, but with sacrifice." Captain Chen and Commander Sharma exchanged glances as Zorith continued. "The Coalition formally invites Earth to take its place as a full member of the galactic community. Furthermore, we request—" the word seemed difficult for the Elder to pronounce— "your protection. The Kryvax have conquered 17 worlds before this. You are the only species to have defeated them." Admiral Wei considered the request for a long moment before responding. "Elder Zorith, humanity accepts your invitation to join the Coalition. As for protection, we will always stand against those who prey upon the defenseless, not because we are conquerors, but because that is what Deathworlders do when they choose to be more than their evolution." Zorith's crystalline form shimmered in what might have been relief. "The Coalition has existed for 10,000 years, Admiral Wei. In all that time, we never understood that sometimes the capacity for violence is necessary to preserve peace. It's not about violence," Wei corrected gently. "It's about determination. Humans don't give up. We don't surrender when logic says we should. That's what it truly means to be a Deathworlder. And that's what we bring to your Coalition." As the diplomatic proceedings continued, Commander Sharma stood at a viewport, gazing at the stars. Captain Chen joined her in silence. "Do you think they understand yet?" she asked quietly. Chen shook his head. "Not fully. They see our ships and our weapons, and think that's where our strength lies." "They'll learn," Pryor replied. "Someday they'll understand that humanity's real power isn't that we evolved on a world that tried to kill us. It's that we survived by standing together against the darkness." Beyond the viewport, the stars seemed a little brighter. A galaxy where humanity had finally found its place, not despite being Deathworlders, but because of what being Deathworlders had taught them: that the strongest protect the weak, that sacrifice brings meaning, and that the most dangerous species in the universe was one that would cross 18 light years to answer a cry for help.